I'm in Cannes. It's great.
So, can you just kind of give you've been a vice president of American Film Market
Managing director, the American Film Market,
for
since 1998.
Wow. So, can you kind of tell people what exactly is the American Film Market and how important is it in relation to Cannes?
The American Film Market is like a bookend to Cannes. The same things happen, in many cases the same people attend. The AFM's participants are really made up of three groups. There's the producer and distribution companies, those who are making films from all over the world, and they're bringing it to the market to find distribution. This is where independent film really reaches an audience, because we have buyers coming from more than 80 countries looking to acquire the rights for their country in a specific media for each film. AFM will screen about 400 to 500 films. Maybe 2,000 projects are brought as well, and about 1,600 buyers are coming to see those films and hear the pitches on those projects to see what will work in their country. At the same time, beyond the buyers and the sellers, you really have the global production community who is there. Literally thousands of producers from more than 50 countries, post-production facilities, film commissions, lawyers and bankers. This is really where the independent film community meets. And like I said, it's a bookend to Cannes. Many of the same people who are at Cannes, most of the sellers, most of the buyers, many of the producers, then are at the AFM. It's their twice a year time to touch and connect and mostly close deals.
Would you say it's the most important market for North America?
I wouldn't look at it from a North American standpoint. Both AFM and Cannes are global events. Both of us have participants between 80 and 100 countries. So there is only one film market on the Western Hemisphere, that's the AFM. So it's hard to say it's the most important. It's just, it complements Cannes, and we have a great relationship, we trade information, it's the same people who are at the same event. When you have a film or a project, you can't wait a whole year to go to a market to look for financing or to sell it. You need to come more, as soon as it's ready. And that's why the AFM, our dates are set exactly 6 months from Cannes to provide the industry with a twice a year option.
Over recent years, there's been a lot of speculation as to this sort of volatile changes in the marketplace. What do you have to say about that?
When you say title changes, sorry?
Marketplaces, like the volatile changes in the market in terms of buying and selling because of the move to digital, the piracy, it's affected the marketplace.
Piracy, of course, affects the marketplace because it sometimes prevents films from getting made. When a buyer in a country cannot commit to a film before it's made because they're uncertain about how to protect piracy, it actually reduces the number of films made. It's less about the hurt on revenue. The studios feel the revenue fall off from piracy. The independents feel a drop in production from piracy because they can't get some films financed. And so the industry deals with it. It's sort of like the weather. We try to change it, but we can't change it very much. Then in terms of new technologies, the independent film industry has benefited from technologies over the decades, whether it's been VHS or then cable and then satellite and then video on demand and TVOD and SVOD. As these technologies come forward, the independents are very nimble. They move quickly, they understand how the marketplace is changing, and they adjust their deals. There's always challenges. Some succeed more than others in adapting to that marketplace, but ultimately they all adapt.
Can you speak a little bit about the market of 2015, how that went, and then perhaps moving forward, how does the...
Well, AFM 2015 was, of course, great. What else would I say? We had a full house, everyone was there, business was done. We had some new initiatives. One was we started having networking receptions on the pier. The Santa Monica Pier is so famous, and we've actually never done formal AFM events there before. So there's a 100-year-old merry-go-round that's very well known. It's going to have, in fact, this year it's 100th anniversary. And we closed the merry-go-round during the AFM and just used it for private receptions so that all of our attendees could come and network and come in the evening, have a cocktail, and meet people they may not have been able to find because others were in screenings or in meetings. And so much of what we are doing is pushing forward with initiatives to help people connect. We don't travel to events to see things we could see on the internet or have communications we could do by email. We really travel to develop relationships and have face-to-face time. And so the events and activities we're building are all about facilitating that.
Would you say a market is good as opposed to, since there's not a film festival like Cannes attached to the market, would you say that markets are good also for filmmakers to connect, or is it mainly just good for buyers and
Well,
sellers?
the word filmmaker is a very, very interesting, we all define that word a little bit different. So I'm going to set that word aside and use more specific words like producer, director, writer, and such. At Cannes, the activities are good for all segments of the industry because of the festival. If you're a set decorator, you can be here and watch films in the festival, the credential is free, and see what is happening in your craft. If you're a cinematographer, if you're a director. Since the AFM is only about commerce, we do not have the cultural component. There are certain disciplines where there's no benefit for being there, and that would be those on the creative side, cinematographers, set designers, and directors. Where those who are looking for their employer, looking for a film to attach themselves to, usually the AFM isn't the right place. However, producers with packages, writers with scripts, this is their home. This is where business is done. This is where packages are being looked for. So this is why if you look at what people put on their badge and say what is their profession, producer and writer is number one in terms of AFM. Where in Cannes, where the auteur is celebrated, it might be director. So there is a bit of a difference. If I was a director, if I was advising directors and cinematographers, I would say choose Cannes. If I was advising producers and writers, I'd say choose AFM. Not because there's something wrong with Cannes, but because of the singular focus on commerce at the AFM. It's easier to get traction, it's easier to get visibility, it's easier to set meetings.
Can you explain to us what is IFTA, IFTA?
Yes. IFTA is the Independent Film and Television Alliance. It's a 35-year-old nonprofit. It's a non-government organization made up of motion picture and television sales companies, exporters. It's a trade association for sales companies. And so its mission is very similar to the mission of any trade association in any industry, which is to provide services and programs that are best done collectively for that industry. Top of the list is advocacy and lobbying. The laws in many countries, as they continue to evolve, especially with new technologies, can favor one segment of the industry over the other. While anti-piracy efforts favor all, some other laws could favor the studios versus the independents. And so we have to be very actively engaged in Washington, in Geneva, in Brussels, in monitoring and advocating for laws that support the independent model. Because the independent model is different from the studios in one very important way. The studios, when they distribute their film globally, they simply send their elements to their own offices, whether it's in Japan or Korea or Argentina. An independent is dependent on a local distributor acquiring their film. And that business model of import and export, licensing to a third party, is different than the studios. And the laws about import and export, the laws about piracy, the laws about production supports in country can affect either positively or negatively the independent business model. And so IFTA, first and foremost, is there to support the independence and the business model they follow. And then beyond that, there are just many, many programs. We have a staff of 30 that are focused on providing these programs and services to the independents.
Great. Since 1998, has there been any years that have stuck out, or what have been some of your fondest memories of being?
Fondest memories? Well, for me, it's been the transition over that period of the AFM from being more of mostly an import-export event to being one that is relevant to the global production community. The founders of the event wanted buyers and sellers only back in 1981. As I took over in the late 90s, we then shifted the focus to the production community. And now we have more activities for producers and writers than we do for buyers.
And looking forward, where do you think the marketplace is going? Is it positive?
Well, when you talk about the marketplace, the AFM is a market
AFM.
or the independent film
market? Because it seems that it's changing so much.
It's changing, and some will succeed and some won't. It's always sad, but it's a cycle of life. But the fact is, the passion of the storyteller will never die. And that passion will lead to films being made through different ways, financing mechanisms, through new distribution schemes, if you will. But the films will still be made, and they will still reach their audience. You see, the passion for making a film and the passion for finding money to make that film, there's no greater passion, maybe than other than saving the life of a loved one, than there is the passion of the artist who can't afford their canvas. And filmmakers are artists who can't afford their canvas. And they will constantly find the money, they will find the way, they will make sure that film reaches their audience, whatever the new technologies are. And I'm excited to see what they do and how they do it.
You get to sort of write a piece of that history.
Well, I get to help.
Amen to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm done. Bruno, did you have any?